Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the best damn football team. I'm your host, the Football Grump. With me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky Fan, and it is a wonderful Thursday to be talking to you.
It's a wonderful Thursday if you are a Rays fan. I know all of you Yankee and Met fans, your baseball season ended in May. But for some of us out there, we are actually in a pennant race, and we just started a big series with Baltimore and a playoff intensity game. You could still see the sweat on my face, sweating out a big 4-3 win. So I'm trying to move on for the emotional chaos of this past Sunday night's Giant game, and this was a big thing to me to help me move on with my life. So I'm feeling good for right now until we blow a lead tomorrow night. But that's where we are. How are you, Grump?
I'm doing good. Fans who were at the Monday night Meadowlands game, do we think that they got the best game that you could possibly go to at the Meadowlands this year? Making like a prediction after only 1 week.
If you're a Jet fan, absolutely not, because I think
No. But I mean, for a game, not I understand the season's over the moment he's down, whatever. But that was to go to a game like that where you see him go down in the first drive, you're sure everything's over, and then Zach Wilson comes in there and wins the game for you on an overtime punt return against a division rival. I mean, I don't think you get on a walk-off overtime punt return. I don't think you get a better viewing experience contained in the bubble, right?
Yeah, I would say I think it's a better experience for someone like us who really has absolutely no skin in the game as a Jet fan. I really think if that was my team and something is not only is like, your quarterback probably is gone for the year, but it has been, built up for so many months, and you're like, this team's coming together. I think I would just still be in such a state of shock. I'd be watching that game just kind of numb, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, well, also, I don't know. You're in the mindset of a season ticket holder. Like, if you had tickets to only one game a year and that was the game you got to go to, that's not bad. That's pretty cool.
I guess just as far as a game,
that's what I mean.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, I'd say so.
I would like to be at MetLife for a Giants win where the lights go off and a walk-off at a night game. That would be pretty cool.
I do want to give a fart to Darius Slay because, first of all, that guy's a dick anyway. That whole Eagle team is, but his comment after the injury was, well, we all know MetLife sucks and that turf sucks, so it's not a surprise.
He hasn't even played on it yet.
He hasn't even played on it, and it's not the same turf that he has played on before. I mean, you knew this was going to happen. The Players Association all of a sudden, puts out a statement that every field should have grass, and it's just again.
Look, hang on though. I'll just say this much: if that's what the players want, I understand what the struggle is. Like, it's a very expensive call to have well-maintained grass fields. It's really expensive. And if owners don't want to do it, I understand where the headbanging is. Me personally, I don't give a shit. I just want everyone to shut up about it. I'm just sick of like every injury being blamed on something other than the fact that it's a collision sport.
Yeah.
And that a man is 39 and turning 40 this year. And also having a 250-pound other person fall very violently on the back of him.
Right.
Like all these other things don't matter. That's all. I just want the whole argument to be over with. If the players want grass, give them the fucking grass. Just pay the money. I don't care anymore. Just make the field. I don't give a shit.
Well, I mean, it's just like it's silly because you remember when we had the old turf field at the old Giant Stadium, they had like that. It was a terrible grass field. It was on those trays. It was awful.
Oh, it was like cement, you mean?
Right.
Like the Giants stadium?
Yeah, the old Giant Stadium.
Yeah, that shit is like rocks.
I mean, people forget how bad the turf is, the grass was in Washington. Pittsburgh always looks like garbage because they play the Steelers, and the Panthers play there also. So it's an easy out and it's an easy excuse. But again, for someone for someone like Darius Slay, who is a mouthpiece and says something that's completely ignorant about it, you just sound like an asshole, and it just builds a narrative that's not true at all. So screw him.
Yeah, fuck him. And like I was saying, so I would like to this year be at a night game at MetLife for a Giants win. in overtime or something where they can shut down the lights and just have the LEDs and fireworks. That's really cool. I was pretty jealous of people who got to be there for that, fans who were there. That looked like a cool thing. And we're kind of in a situation now. We're going to transition to game talk here for a minute. Remember, the rules changed this year. So if the Giants go and play the Arizona Cardinals, who will not have their starting quarterback and have already given away assets, appear to be in a fire sale and tanking the season. If they lose this game, the Giants, do we think, are already going to get flexed out of Week 4 Monday night?
Can they start the flexing this early in the season?
I think they start. It's the whole year. It can flex at any moment. Or if it's not Week 4, I'm just saying, do you think that they already get flexed out of a night game? Because they're in several this year. Do you think that possibility starts already?
Absolutely. I mean, if this team stinks, they won't be on primetime. It's very simple.
On the one hand, I almost want to lose this game to get out of some primetime games and then pick things up for the rest. On the other hand, I don't want to lose this game. I don't want to lose any game ever. I hate primetime games. That's all I'm saying.
That might be your worst take you've ever had.
I didn't say it was a take. I said on the one hand. That was not my conclusion.
No.
Anyway, during the Just Giants preview episode of the Giants at Cardinals, I will be drinking more beer by Zigmeister Brewing.
I'm going to make a case maybe you should stop drinking after that one, because that was rough.
That was not a take! Jesus, man. Ugh. Boo!
Yeah.
Boo you, boo this. I'm editing this out.
Ouch. No. I saved it, so...
Why am I promoting Hey, shut the hell up. God damn it, let me do my fucking thing. Why am I promoting a beer for no money? Because they're a relatively small company that makes a quality product and deserve advertising by word of mouth by their satisfied customers such as me. A situation that is not completely unlike the podcast that you are listening to right now. So please follow my lead and have a beer by Zigmeister Brewing and share this podcast with your other fellow Giants fans. What do you want to do? What do you keep going with your stupid, that was the worst take you've ever had, even though it wasn't a take? You were in the middle of a sentence, not the end.
No, I do want to say one thing, though, about the Giants stink on primetime, narrative also is going on. And it's true. The record the Giants have had on Thursday nights, Sunday nights, Monday nights has been bad. But because usually, more likely than not, you're playing really good teams, and the Giants have not been good for the last decade. And
yeah, you can stop right there. They haven't even been good, so they haven't been good on primetime. They haven't been good.
It's not a.
That problem's not confined to primetime.
What?
I said that problem's not been confined to primetime. That's just been the problem.
That's my whole point. It's just like, Daniel Jones can't win in primetime. Or there's a primetime curse. It's like, no, we have not been a good team. And on primetime, they do one of two things. They put really good teams on primetime, or teams that just happen to be popular and get TV ratings. And as much as the Giants suck, we do draw a rating. So there's no mystery behind it. There's no curse. There's no stigmata about the Giants why they can't win. The fact is we have just not been good, and we play good teams. We're going to play Dallas every year, at least one game on primetime. We're going to play Philly one game on primetime. They're good teams. It's the way it goes. So I'm tired of these tired takes that these guys have, these talking heads saying stupid shit. And they think they're witty and funny about it. It's like,
or that they're like blowing your mind. Like, listen to this. The Giants haven't won in primetime in 12 years. It's like, okay, Brian Daboll has nothing to do with anything that happened 12 years ago. Neither does Daniel Jones. I don't give it any shits about historical records, year-to-year records. Like, when people spout those out, I'm over here like, okay, sure. Mm-hmm. I don't care. It's not interesting to me. In any case, hang on. Enough that we've had our vent session. Give me an emotional check. You're already ranting and raving, so you still feeling hot and sour about Sunday night? Have you moved on? Sounds like you're still a little heated over Giants takes.
I'm more heated over takes than I am the Giants themselves, to be very honest. Again, that's why I really try to avoid talking head shows and all that garbage. I mean, I listen to Talking Giants, listen to Patty Traina's show, listen to those things for good things. I had the misfortune, like I said, of having to miss my flight on Sunday and come back Monday, and I was in an airport coming back, and there was some talking head show on ESPN, and it is amazing the garbage they talk about. That I really felt getting dumber and dumber as I was not even watching it. I was just in the airport, and it was just on, and it was just kind of permeating my skin. So that's what's really annoying me. But as for the Giants themselves, you know, my thoughts at this moment are, what is issues that can be taken care of now in season versus things we're just gonna have to worry about next off season. We have said all along that we are trying to juggle a rebuild with all of a sudden having some success and trying to be a playoff contender as well. And I think we try to put the rebuild part in the back part of our brain. So, I think this is something I wanted to talk to you about today, Grump, was, what can be done specifically, on the offensive line to help with the pass protection that we can make adjustments to now versus, this is the girl we brought to the dance with and we have to dance with her until next year.
Well, I see. I don't know. Maybe I could break it up into percentages. There's a much higher percentage that this is just the woman we brought to prom.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that I think comes from this is officially the assembly of Joe Shane's offensive line, right? At this point, every member here, the only two inherited members that are starters are guys that he likes and developed a little bit. I don't, whatever, forget the development. But these are two guys that he decided he liked. Andrew Thomas got a big extension. He clearly likes him, even though he didn't draft him. Ben Bredesen was traded here before him, but he is the one who has fought his way up the depth chart and earned that spot. He's clearly been the best other holdover we've had. He drafted John Michael Schmitz. He brought Mark Lewinsky in as a free agent. He drafted Evan Neal. So this is his line. So some of that is a little bit of hurt ego, I think, maybe holding back, like give it time. And that, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but I think that that's an element. But I do think, and also the other thing is going to be availability. But that being said, if teams are in a fire sale, they're in a fire sale. So that means their phone is ready to be ringing for whatever. So if there is a guy who is playing well on a team that isn't, and they are ready to take his contract off the books or whatever, I don't think that precludes a midseason trade. And if it's a guy who's playing well that you're willing to give up assets for and trade to make an immediate impact, he's probably good enough to not gel with the offensive line right away, but pick up the playbook fast enough to be a contributor. And this thing doesn't necessarily have to happen towards the trade deadline, but it's much more likely that it will. So I think that that's the bigger chunk of the 85% this doesn't happen kind of thing is that. Just the fact that it would have to happen so close to the trade deadline, it's more likely to happen there that it's not. It would be like a playoff move, and you'd be banking a lot on it.
So it's interesting. So let's say we start this season off 2-5 or something, because we do have a very difficult schedule coming up, and things don't go our way. We could have a poor record yet still be buyers at the deadline. Because usually, if you're having a bad season, you are usually having a fire sale and you are giving up assets. Where it could be the opposite with this team, where just a victim of circumstance. It's like, this team has a bad record. We dug this hole, but yet we have the opportunity to pick up an offensive lineman. Like this team is not in blow it up mode and start over. This is still in rebuild. So it might be a weird scenario where we're buying with the poor record.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, I suppose, possible. But again, this is already I think not likely to happen. And I suppose that there are some offensive linemen that are sitting on couches right now. I guess I wouldn't really count on anything like that. If they're sitting on couches now, then they're probably
He's
not
fighting a
very good.
reason.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they're not going to be coming in mid-season and learning the playbook and then automatically better than Mark Lewinsky or whatever you're hoping for. I suppose these things are possible. I just wouldn't really think it's likely.
And even entertaining any thoughts of moving Evan Neal to guard this year would make no sense
It's
because
his second year.
who,
I'm not doing anything to screw
of
with him.
course,
Just continue on
and
whatever
who
path
in
you're
just
on.
a practical standpoint, who you're replacing him with. I mean,
Yeah.
we have
No,
we
I said that right at the beginning. Before the year started, I cared less about the rookie corners than I did the tackle depth. To me,
Yep,
that's the worst thing on this O-line. And it was, again, banking on one Andrew Thomas injury away from we have literally no answer at left tackle. And Evan Neal had already had a concussion in the preseason and had to miss
right,
time. That's like, and that's also like you can't tough your way through the concussion diagnosis. That is like you have to beat the protocol. So
exactly.
that's just the timeline that it's on. So it could be weeks. You don't know. And I don't believe that he was in the protocol for a short amount of time in the preseason. Don't totally remember though. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm wrong about that. But
I mean, I guess the only other thing you could do is try to scheme around a little bit. Have your tight ends in more to block.
yeah,
You
for how
know,
long can you do that?
I know. I mean, listen, we are in a bad situation, and
That's
I'm
like
trying to.
that's like a struggle to put together like two drives like that where it's
Yeah,
like they're gonna know exactly what we're doing after three plays. To
yeah,
play more than one game like that is like an impossibility.
yeah. So that's why some of these easy, sports radio answers that people have. Well, just do this, do this. That's why none of these things really make any sense. So unfortunately, again, Dallas is a tough barometer to say how good or bad you are because they are a unique defense with who go after the quarterback better than probably anybody else in the league does. Let's see this week against Arizona to get a better gauge of how bad this line really is, and but I think we're kind of screwed this year. I mean, this might just be it, and we hope that you know guys don't get hurt. Andrew Thomas sounds like he's iffy to play on Sunday, but already sounds like a win because we were kind of fearing, well, what if he's out for a month? What happens? But if anybody else gets hurt, I start to fear for the safety of Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Andrew Thomas has a hamstring injury that he suffered in the Dallas Cowboys game, chasing down the pick six. Um, so I guess that's sort of he's kind of questionable to play this game. It sounds like if he goes, he's certainly not going to be 100%. But also, I guess you fear that he's going to further injure himself. And then with the short week coming up for Thursday against San Francisco, the conversation and the question then kind of comes as to
Yeah.
do you rest him for or do you change the way that you manage an injured player because of the 1-2 game? And I say that specifically in that language because it's like the one school of thought that I've already seen floated around. There's two schools of thoughts I've seen thrown around. I'm sorry. One would be this should be the easy game. We need him for the 49ers. Rest him against the Cardinals and get him healthy enough. Because if he's already questionable, then maybe by Thursday he could be a full go or something, right? And get him against the better team. And then the other is quite the opposite. Is let him play for a little bit in this game because there's no way that we're beating the Niners. So whatever. I,
Yeah.
I don't I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, to me, I said this in my opening monologue last week that college is one thing, the NFL is completely different, where the talent level between the best and worst NFL teams is not nearly as great as it is in college. Now, if this was Florida, who had just played Utah and has Tennessee coming up the week after and has McNeese in the middle, yeah, you know, okay, we can get away with not playing this guy or something, who's not 100% because we don't really need him. I don't think you can do that in the NFL. And I know Arizona is probably going to be, one of the three worst teams in the league, by the end of the season. But there are no guarantees in this league. None. Um, I I don't think you can look ahead in this league, to say, oh well, that's a quote unquote easier game. It's still on the road. It's a it's only by a few hours, but a shorter week than you normally have. I, you know, I think it changes. I think your thinking changes a little bit with the loss after week one than anything else. And I don't know. It's a long season. I To me, if you're rushing guys back who may not be 100% and you aggravate Andrew Thomas's hamstring, or if Wandell Robinson's not quite ready to go yet, you may be causing bigger damage down the line. And if Andrew Thomas has to miss 4 games, 8 games, again, not only are we screwed for the season, but we could end up killing a quarterback we just gave $40 million a year for. So I think personally, if it was me, I would rest these guys, not because I'm worried about an individual win or loss, and even in this season or an easier team, it's just I want these guys to be as healthy as I can to minimize the potential of bigger injuries, and we're really screwing everything.
I think, well, I mean, I certainly agree with that. There's no guarantees in here. I think the bigger thing is I'm more worried about the prolonged injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, weighing the pros and cons of what it would mean, what the percentages are of him to re-injure himself in a situation, and take all factors into it, not just his timetable, but also the weather, field conditions. But I'd certainly, I think I'm hoping that he plays. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I want him to stay warm. I need him to keep moving, and I think what I would like is to just put Daniel Bellinger on his side, and let him get some help where he doesn't have to kick all the way out. He doesn't have to worry about the edge. Do you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like, give him some help where he can kind of kick out a little bit less than his full extension of the leg. I don't know if this would work for the entirety of a game, but any time that you have something where also just run to the right side, stuff like that. They're better run blockers on the right side anyway. I'm hoping for something like that. But if it's going to hurt him to, like, if there's like a serious risk to further extend his injury time, I don't know, man. He's like I think I said this like a long time ago, that he's like uh he's got to be the one part of the ship that's iceberg proof.
Yeah. I guess this might be a silly question, but based on the fact that Daniel Jones was playing in extreme garbage time with a third string left tackle, do you worry? Do you have it on a scale of 1 to 10, a little bit of like a worry that this coaching staff is like that old school mentality of, well, if he can play, fuck it, as
No.
opposed to being cautious? Okay.
No, I as much as I don't uh, agree with Brian Dable's reasoning at the podium for keeping Daniel in as long as he did, I at least get it. I understand what he was trying to do, even if I
Mm-hmm.
think it was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
Okay.
I do truly believe that he was trying for a spark, something. I think really the thing is, like, you want your starters to at least come out of there with a touchdown, so in some capacity, for confidence sake. I think he thinks that's important, to get some level of positivity out of the game in the film room the next day, or something tangible to show that. I don't necessarily. I mean, I am not in the locker room. I don't know how important that is or not, but I believe that. I think it was stupid to keep Daniel in that long, though.
Okay.
Waller was rested today as a. He was limited today, but listed as hamstring and rest. I think that tells. I think Waller's going to be okay to play.
Yeah, I mean, this happened last week too. I think they're going to this year have like a designated rest day for him throughout the season. So that didn't raise any eyebrows to me. It's just I just going to have that little feeling in the back of my head all year that, you know, when is he going to go down? And I think I texted you when we first heard the news, and I was like, and it begins, and your response, which was the more rational one, was until he misses time, there's nothing to worry about. But this is something it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a bit of a cause of concern for me this entire season. I'm going to be on pins and needles a little bit with it because we saw in limited things in preseason and when we were at camp what a difference maker he's gonna be, and he could really be, you know, the catalyst for this passing team. This passing attack that we have. And if he's not available, it's all different. So I'm going to be a little worried about him.
Giants have a lengthy injury report this week, but I think that most of them are probably okay. Notable ones, they're all notable, but I think the ones that bear discussion are Graham Gano, still with that ankle. I I have to assume that he's okay to kick if they haven't made a move yet. I don't even think that there's a kicker on the practice squad, so
My thinking.
I think we're fine there, but it still bears watching. But it is interesting that they didn't even bring one to the practice squad. As far as I've read, I'm not had a busy week and all, but I feel like I would have noticed that.
I didn't see anything either. No.
And Azeez Ojulari popping up there with a hamstring injury again is notable, I think.
Sure.
Him being limited in practice is not something I'll ever give a shit about. It's always going to be game time for me. There was a period of time where Ahmad Bradshaw did walkthroughs on Fridays only, and he brought 110% on Sunday. I never gave a shit that he missed practice. So, but it's notable that he's already on the injury report with a hamstring.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes to this game, my real quick 1-2 punch on offense. Stop dicking around and protect Daniel Jones. Whatever the plan is at left tackle, help him with Bellinger. I don't care if it's Matt Parrott or Andrew Thomas. You make that decision. You put Bellinger over there and you fucking help him. On the right side, start using running backs for chips or whatever, but they can run block. Do your running on the right side as much as whatever power running you want to do. Run to the right side. Get behind Glowinski and Neal. That's what they're good at. This defense is only moderately talented, but they are physical and they were downhill. So do not become one-dimensional. Whether it's running or passing, don't be one-dimensional. They will be flying downhill. That I can promise based on what I've watched. Defensively, I think this is straightforward. Put the boots to him. Okay? Confuse and beat the shit out of Josh Dobbs. Do not take your foot off the gas. Play responsibly because the Cardinals are already using and are going to continue to use while Josh Dobbs has to be the quarterback a lot of short, tricky, and field reversey kind of things to make up for the fact that they suck right now. So those are my matchup. That's my game plan.
This is a Wink Martindale defense, and this is all the stars are lining for. If you want to see a Wink Martindale defense at its best, this is it. Against a backup quarterback who can be easily confused. He's only been on the team for 2 weeks. It's not like he even had a whole training camp or anything with them. This is where you have to just bring the house with exotic stuff, different things all the time, different looks. If we see, we look at the stat sheet after this game and we only see, 1 sack and only, a low number of hits, quarterback hits, that's going to be very disappointing. This is the opportunity where, for the problems we've had on offense last week, a coming out party for this defense should happen this week and has to happen this week. Like I said, all the stars are aligned for them to be very successful. They need to be. This Arizona team stinks. This Arizona team is thinking about next year's draft and doing the rebuild. There's no excuse for this defense to look pedestrian against this bad team.
I think that the Giants win this game, but this is one for the Alzheimer's portion of your life. I think they win 16-9 and potentially have a defensive score in that 16.
When you go to a bar, Grump, and there's let's say we're in some place, and we're in Fayetteville, Arkansas, so they have no skin in the game for a local team. And you walk into, Buffalo Wild Wings. They have every game on. And they have these nice big TVs. And then they have that one TV in the corner. No sound. Might not even be a color TV. It might be a black and white TV. That's where this game probably would go for most people. This is going to be unattractive. Again, you have a backup quarterback on a very bad team. You have an offense on the other team that, took a shot in the nuts and has to first regain confidence and then regain some sense of execution. Uh,
Testosterone.
yeah, exactly. So I agree with you. I still think that, you know, I'm not ready to say, I'm not ready in 1 week to say, well, the Giants are a team I think can, be a playoff team to a team that's on Arizona's level. I don't believe that. We have more talent than they do. We have the better quarterback. You know, we have we have the matchup in coaching. Again, it's a coach with his second NFL game ever. He's coaching. Um, I think it's going to be really ugly. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of yardage for either team. But I think that we will come away with a win with a similar score to yours. I'm going to give this a 17-10 Giants win.
As a reminder, when we did our pens and pencils guesses and predictions, we both had this one in permanent marker or something of that variety.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, Philadelphia is hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The last I saw, they were up 27 to, I think, 14. Minnesota's moving the ball on them, but I had this already written down as a Philly win.
Yeah, I turned it off right before we started recording, and I think it was 27-7. I think when I said there was just Hurts just threw a bomb. Hey, let me ask you one question, Grump. While we're talking about them, that little like fourth and inches play or goal line thing where they do that little scrum.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't more teams do that?
No, I mean they are now.
That more teams are you saw it
Yeah,
around the
well,
league.
so I mean, like it's also I see it in college too now. Yeah, I spread like wildfire because it makes sense when you play to four downs. More good things happen when you play 3rd and 2, knowing that you have four downs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you take deep shots on 3rd and 2, knowing that you can just push the quarterback 2 yards. More good things tend to happen. And also, just if you have a good, sustainable offense where finally the defense just barely were able to get you under control, but it's 4th and 1, just go for it. Because if you get it, you just demoralize them. Like, that was their big victory. They finally got out of that drive. No. And I know that's how I feel as a fan when it happens to me. So, I mean, the methodology makes sense. Whether or not it's bullshit, I don't know, but it certainly makes things less fun to watch.
Yeah, it's almost like an automatic.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know what the stats were and how many times they ran it last year, but I don't recall. Certainly not against us. We didn't stop it.
Yeah. Washington is traveling to Mile High to play the Denver Broncos. Interesting, the Broncos only lost by 1 point to Vegas. It was a pretty exciting game. Russell Wilson looked a little bit more Russell Wilson-y. I still think Washington wins this game.
Ooh, interesting. Going out to Denver, huh?
So, I look, I've already watched Washington because I watched Washington and Arizona as prep for this episode. But Sam Howell did a lot of really stupid things in that game. But this Arizona defense, for what they are very aggressive, very downhill. And it kind of just forced him to do silly things. But one of the more dumb things he was consistently throwing like these super risky tight window throws. And he got burned on a couple. He got away with a couple. I just think from what I've seen from Denver's pass coverage this year, they're a little bit more loose in coverage, and there'll be less of those tight window mistakes. I also think they're a little bit less aggressive of a defense. So I think those big Sam Howell mistakes are not going to be there. That said, Washington's defense is very good. And I still don't really love Denver. So I don't think that this is going to be a blowout or anything, but I think Washington still wins.
I think it's a lot to ask for a first-year quarterback or a rookie quarterback to go into a place like Mile High. Regardless of what Denver is, the two things of the really loud crowd and the altitude, I think, are factors. And maybe if this game was
that altitude
9,
shit is real.
That is real.
So I mean, when I went there, I quite literally, it was the first time I could ever remember like having to stop going up the steps to catch my breath.
Yeah.
And granted, I had the very last seats, but I think that only speaks to my point.
Yeah, but maybe in week 7 or 8 when Howell's had a few games under his belt and we have a better sense of what he is, I think I might consider Washington, but I don't think just yet. I'm going to go with Denver.
Dallas is hosting the New York Jets, led by Zach Wilson and your mom. Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's not even so much like who's better. It's that defense against Zach Wilson just.
Well, that defense against that offensive line. I mean,
that's really it.
The story this offseason wasn't, well, the Giants' offensive line is really bad. It was the Jets' offensive line is really bad. And, are they going to kill Aaron Rodgers? I mean, I made a bet in Vegas last week when we were out there for Jets under 9.5 wins because I didn't think Aaron Rodgers would play a full season, not because he's all brittle, but I thought this offensive line would kill him. Now, I don't think that's the exact circumstance of what happened, but the point is their offensive line is not good. And what we saw from Dallas, it could be a long night for the Jets. So I'm going with Dallas in this as well.
And that about is it. So we will be watching separately on Sunday at 4 o'clock. And there will be an episode for you Tuesday morning and give ourselves a whole 24 hours to rewatch the game, collect ourselves, not be super reactive to the game. So episode Tuesday morning on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And you can follow us during the game on Twitter at @football_grump and at the Cranky Fan. Until next week, go Giants.
Go Giants.